Hi, welcome commissioners and members of the public watching remotely. I'm Yolanda Munoz, the 2020 Acting Chair of the Instructional Quality Commission. I call this meeting to order. With the COVID-19 pandemic, we are continuing to hold these important meetings virtually. The IQC meeting logistics will follow Governor Gavin Newsom's March 19, 2020 Executive Order N-29-20, which allows state bodies that fall under the Bagley-Keene Opening Meeting Act to hold public meetings that are covered by Bagley-Keene with web conferencing and audio conferencing. In compliance with California's statewide stay-at-home order, today's IQC meeting is a video conference meeting with a live webcast. Public comment on items on today's meeting agenda may be provided during the meeting by dialing area code 712-770-4993, and then following a prompt to provide a participant's access code. Callers will then be added to a queue. The operator will notify callers when it's their turn to provide public comment. Public comment will be limited to 1 minute, if possible. We recommend members of the public dialing in for public comment continue to view the live stream of the meeting for a better understanding of the meeting status. When it's your turn, please mute the live cast audio. When giving public comment, please state the following. 1, commenter's first and last name, or organization's affiliation, if any. Public comment. Again, the phone number is area code 712-770-4993. The access code is 590662. Again, that's 590662. The phone number and access code will also be announced at the start of the public comment for each item. This is also outlined on the January 21st and 22nd, 2021 IQC agenda posted on the IQC webpage. I'd like to introduce our new State Board of Education appointed commissioner to the IQC, Commissioner Danae Potovich. She received the oath of administration yesterday. Commissioner Popovich, would you like to make any remarks?
Thank you so much. And I just want to say how welcome everyone has made me feel. And it's just such an honor to grow and learn and be part of this committee. And I'm excited to share my passion around inclusion and MTSS and just be a part of this wonderful group of people in learning and growing. Thank you again so much.
Again, welcome. Now I'd like to introduce each commissioner and state board liaison participating in today's meeting. When I call your name, unmute your microphone and confirm your attendance. Then mute your microphone again. Okay. Commissioner Christina Andre.
Present.
Commissioner Mariana Asroga Almanza.
Present.
Commissioner Christine Chapman.
Present.
Commissioner Deborah Costa Hernandez.
Present.
Commissioner Chair Shay Fairchild.
Present.
Commissioner Anita Friedman.
Present.
Commissioner Lindsay Cortana.
Present.
Commissioner Lily Jarvis.
Present.
Commissioner David Ponti.
Present.
Commissioner Danae Popovich.
Present.
Commissioner Alma de la Ria Renteria.
Present.
Commissioner Manuel Rustin.
Present.
Commissioner Pam Williamson.
Here.
Commissioner Kimberly Young.
Present.
Student member Maya Howard.
Present.
Assembly member Shirley Weber. Senator Ben Allen.
Present.
State Board member Patricia Rucker.
Present.
State Board member Irene Strauss.
Present.
Okay, I'd like to, Executive Director Coates, please lead us in the salute to the flag.
Thank you. We are just waiting for our flag. Perfect. Please salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay. Yesterday, we conducted an orientation that provided an opportunity for new and returning commissioners to learn and reflect upon the Commission's policies, procedures, and goals. Today, we will be reviewing the draft mathematics framework and online survey for the first 60-day public review and comment period after conducting our yearly elections and assignments. At this time, I want to review some procedures regarding today's video conferencing meeting. During Commissioner deliberations today, I will call on each commissioner by name. Only the commissioner who is speaking will have his or her microphone unmuted. All others, please mute your microphones. Commissioners use the raise hand button if you want to speak and make a comment. Wait until you are called upon to unmute your microphone and speak. Before speaking, state your name. All votes will be done by roll call. Next on the agenda is the election of the chair, vice chair, and the additional 3 members of the executive committee. These elections are conducted by the executive director, Shani Coates. I will now turn the gavel over to her.
Thank you, Commissioner Munoz. This is the only time a non-commissioner facilitates an agenda item. The elections for the 2021 Commission Chairperson, Vice Chairperson, and Executive Committee shall be separate elections conducted in that order according to Robert's Rules of Order, with nominations made from the floor. The election shall be by a majority vote of voting members. The chairperson and the vice chairperson must receive a majority of the votes cast in order to be elected, and the 3 executive committee members will be the 3 nominees who receive the most votes. In cases where there are more than 2 candidates for chair or vice chair and no one receives a majority of the votes cast, then the 2 candidates with the most votes shall continue to the next round of voting. The candidate with the most votes in the second round will be the winner. No one may be a candidate without being present at the meeting and without one's consent. Before we begin, Denise, can you please confirm the number of commissioners present?
There's 16.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will now begin by taking nominations for chair. Please raise your hand using the participant button. Commissioner Jarvis.
Good morning. I would like to nominate Manuel Rustin for chair of the executive committee. His leadership during the ethnic studies curriculum, his unwavering focus through a difficult and full agenda, and just his flawless facilitation was impressive, and I would like to nominate him.
Thank you. Commissioner Jarvis nominates Commissioner Rustin. Are there any other nominations for chair? Okay. So there is only one nomination for chair. Looks like by acclamation, that would be Commissioner Rustin. Commissioner Rustin, you are the chair of the IQC. I just want to do one check of the bylaws. If you just hold for me one moment. Want to make sure everything is in order.
We could do all in favor, right?
Yes, we could. I think what we'll do, because we're virtual, it makes it a little bit different than the in-person where we're able to just raise our hands and say aye. So I think that for the record, if you would allow, we would like to just do a roll call vote just to ensure that we're on record appropriately. So Denise, will you please conduct the vote? And the nomination is for Commissioner Reston to be the 2021 chair.
Commissioner Munoz?
Aye.
Commissioner Andre?
Aye.
Commissioner Estorga-Almanza?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Aye.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Aye.
Commissioner Pantai?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
Aye.
Commissioner Renteria?
Yes.
Commissioner Reston?
Aye.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Student Member Howard?
Yes.
Senator Allen?
Yes.
Wonderful. So we have confirmed that Commissioner Reston is the 2021 chair of the commission. Congratulations, Commissioner. All right, I will now take nominations for vice chair. If you would please, thank you. Commissioner Renteria?
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Commissioner Costa Hernandez for vice chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Renteria nominates Commissioner Costa Hernandez. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Okay. Seeing none, we'd like to do a roll call vote to confirm. Denise, will you assist us, please?
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Andre?
Aye.
Commissioner Estorga-Almanza?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Renteria?
Yes.
Commissioner Reston?
Aye.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Student Member Howard?
Yes.
Senator Allen?
Yes.
Passes 17-0.
Thank you. Commissioner Costa Hernandez is the 2021 vice chair of the commission. Congratulations, Commissioner. I will now take nominations for 3 executive committee members. Commissioner Chapman.
I nominate Commissioner Fairchild.
Commissioner Chapman nominates Commissioner Fairchild. Commissioner Williamson.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Gotanda.
Commissioner Williamson nominates Commissioner Gotanda. Commissioner Gotanda.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Renteria.
Commissioner Gotanda nominates Commissioner Renteria. Commissioner Reston.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Munoz.
Commissioner Reston nominates Commissioner Munoz. And I see 2 hands, but I think they just weren't removed. Okay. Oh, they went back up. Commissioner Renteria? No? Okay, perfect, thank you. Let me just reread the nominations. The nominations are Commissioner Chapman nominated Commissioner Fairchild. Commissioner Williamson nominated Commissioner Gotanda. Commissioner Gotanda nominated Commissioner Renteria. And Commissioner Reston nominated Commissioner Munoz. Do I have all of the nominations? Okay. So when there are more than 3 nominations, which we have here, then Denise will conduct a roll call vote. Each commissioner may vote for 3 candidates. So you will cast your vote 3 times. Are there any questions about the procedures? Okay, so our nominees will be in the order that they are nominated, and Denise will name them, but we will first conduct the vote for Commissioner Fairchild.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Andre?
Yes.
Commissioner Stargall-Mansa?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Renteria?
Yes.
Commissioner Rustin?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Student Member Howard?
Yes.
Senator Allen?
Yes.
17-0.
Thank you. And the next will be for Commissioner Gotanda.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Andre?
Yes.
Commissioner Stargall-Mansa?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
No.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
No.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
No.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
No.
Commissioner Renteria?
Yes.
Commissioner Rustin?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard? Oh, sorry, Student Member Howard?
Yes.
That prompted me.
Senator Allen?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you provide the count, Denise, for Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes, I'm just counting it right now.
So it's 13 yes, 4 no.
Thank you. Okay, and the next will be for Commissioner Renteria.
Commissioner Munoz?
No.
Commissioner Andre?
Yes.
Commissioner Stargall-Mansa?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
No.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai?
No.
Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Renteria?
Yes.
Commissioner Rustin?
No.
Commissioner Williamson?
No.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Student Member Howard?
Yes.
So it's CSP.
Senator Allen?
Yes.
We have 12 yes and 5 no.
Thank you. And our final vote will be for Commissioner Munoz.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Andre?
No.
Commissioner Stargall-Mansa?
No.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
So,
Um,
go ahead.
Commissioner Friedman, have
Oh,
I believe you've already cast 3 votes.
oh, okay. So no.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
No.
Commissioner Pantai?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich,
Yes.
Commissioner Renteria,
No.
Commissioner Rustin,
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
No.
Student Member Howard,
No.
Senator Allen,
Well, I'm going to abstain because I've already cast 3 votes.
Denise, I was unable to record the votes of Commissioner Jarvis and Commissioner Pantai. Can you please remind me of their votes?
yes. Commissioner Jarvis was no, and Commissioner Pantai was yes.
Thank you.
So we have 11 yes, 7, sorry. Sorry, we have 9 yes, 7 no, and 1 abstention.
Okay. Thank you. So the members of the 2021 Executive Committee are Commissioner Fairchild, Commissioner Gotanda, and Commissioner Renteria. Congratulations. At this time, I would like to turn the gavel over to our new 2021 IQC Chair, Commissioner Rustin.
Well, thank you very much. And I would like to recognize former Commissioner Iniguez. I remember when we first switched to this virtual format, I was unsure how we would be able to continue on with so many windows and so many files and so much going on. And he did a masterful job. And from that, I think we all gained some lessons about facilitating in this virtual space. So if he's watching, salute to former Commissioner Iniguez. And next on the agenda today is the approval of the minutes. And we are to approve the minutes for November 18th, 19th, 2020, and as well as the meeting on December 18th, 2020. Public comment is now open for this agenda item. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on the approval of minutes. Commissioners, you have the minutes of the November 18th through 19th, 2020 and December 18th, 2020 commission meetings before you. If you have substantive changes, please present them now. If there are minor changes not affecting the content, please submit them to Denise. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes? I recognize Commissioner Gotanda.
I would like to move that we approve the minutes for November 18th, 19th, 2020, and December 18th, 2020.
Thank you. It's moved by Commissioner Gotanda. Is there a second to the motion? I recognize Commissioner Williamson.
I second the motion.
Thank you. The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Williamson. Is there any discussion or is there any public comment?
One moment as we check the public comment line.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. There is no public comment.
All right, thank you. The public comment line for this agenda item is now closed. I believe we are ready to vote.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Andre?
Yes.
Commissioner Estorga-Almanza?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Vice Chair Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Renteria?
Yes.
Chair Rustin?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Student Member Howard,
Yes.
Senator Allen.
Yes.
The motion passes 17-0.
Okay, next on the agenda is report of the chair. And this being a very recent role for me, I don't have an extensive report to give, but I would like to point out that it has been nearly a year. We're coming up on a year since we had to shift everything to a virtual format. And I would love to recognize all the students across our education system, K-12 and higher education, for continuing to hang in there despite the challenges and difficulties of distance learning, as well as California's educators who have had to truly reinvent their practice in very short order and sustain school through this really devastating pandemic. And I also like to point out that although it's common parlance to say that schools are closed, school for sure is not closed. It is virtual in most regards. It's distance learning in most regards. But as a classroom teacher, I can tell you we are very much open, and my students are very much hanging in there and finding new ways to form community and new ways to continue their learning despite the uncertainties of the present and of the future. And I also want to salute California's own Amanda Gorman, who 2 days ago gave a stunning poem during the inauguration, becoming the youngest person to recite a poem during the inauguration. And of course, one thing that she said in that poem was that the nation is not broken, it's simply unfinished. And I think our work here as members of the IQC and our work in education speaks to this idea of America simply being unfinished. We are continuing the cause to create a more equitable and just society and a more equitable and just education system for all of our students. And I also want to shout out California's own VP, Vice President Kamala Harris, who of course attended California schools and is now representing for the entire nation. So I look forward to all the future Californians who are out there and about to change the world as well. So thank you again. And now it is time for the Executive Director's report.
Thank you so much, Chair Reston. I want to begin with a land acknowledgement. Although we are virtual, I would like to acknowledge the land that we are guests of. I am specifically on the land of the Nisenan, Maidu, and Miwok peoples, and any others that may be unnamed. I also want to take the opportunity to recognize Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which was celebrated this past Monday across the nation. As well. Thank you, Dr. King, as well as the many leaders who served beside him, men and women, people of all nationalities. So thank you for your work for the civil rights movement, and we continue that work today. Moving on to CDE updates. On December 17th, 2020, State Superintendent of Public Instruction Thurman outlined actions, priorities, and investments needed to address the ongoing impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on students. His plan included the following: developing additional strategies for accelerating academic growth, prioritizing teachers and school employees for vaccines, encouraging schools to use $2.1 billion in remaining CARES Act funds to address learning gaps, safety, and mental health, continuing to partner with equity leaders and practitioners to address learning gaps and reconnect with any students who may be disengaged, and also to pass a universal broadband measure. For more information regarding the plan, please see the CDE's news release webpage. Additionally, on December 30th, 2020, Governor Newsom released the State Safe Schools for All Plan proposal. His plan outlines the framework to continue and expand safe in-person instruction in early spring, including $2 billion to support school safety measures. For information on this proposal, please see the governor's webpage. Additionally, Dr. Stephanie Gregson and Dr. Linda Darling-Hammond hosted a Pathways to Recovery webinar that can be accessed on the CDE's Facebook page, and that webinar includes resources for accelerating student learning. I would like to also thank the teachers and administrators for their service and dedication to all students, regardless of the setting. And just a few more updates. An updated comprehensive state literacy development plan will be presented to the California State Board of Education at its March meeting. For updates on that project, see the January item 6 on the meeting agenda. The instructional materials adoptions for arts and world languages are underway with reviewer trainings and deliberations in April and June 2021, respectively. Instructional materials will be presented to the State Board for action in November 2021. At its November 17-18 meeting, this body, the IQC, submitted the draft ethnic studies model curriculum to the State Board of Education following a 45-day public comment period known as the third field review. That field review ended yesterday. The State Board of Education will review the draft as well as any CDE recommendations to the draft at its March 2021 meeting. And then finally, at its January 2021 meeting, the Sacramento County Office of Education provided an update to the State Board of Education regarding draft distance learning curriculum and instructional guidance in curriculars as described by the legislation, which at that time are mathematics, English language arts, and English language development. That full plan will go to the State Board at its May 31st, 2021. By May 31st, 2021. Thank you. That concludes my director's report. I would like a few moments prior to the adjournment of today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is item 1H on the agenda, which is a report from the State Board of Education.
So I'll be glad to begin, and then I think Member Rucker may have some comments to add. We met recently, and President Lyndon Darling Hammond was again elected as president, and I was elected as vice president. And I think the whole board is really committed to providing stability and thoughtful guidance within our role during these really, really challenging times. And with that, we had a board item on assessment, which we had to take as far as goals and priorities for assessment. But while there was no ability under the board item to talk about a waiver because at that time we didn't have a new leadership in place in Washington, we now do. And so there was a lot of discussion by the board members about how to manage assessment during these really remote times. And I know those of you out in the field are really wondering that as well. How do you do it remotely? We need to connect with kids. We don't need to be testing them when they may not have bandwidth, and what's really important, when should we test? So while we couldn't do anything on that topic, we did have quite a big discussion about it and anticipate a special board meeting next month that we would be able to talk about what potential actions we might take. So for those of you in the field, be aware that the State Board is very concerned about timing, knowing that assessment's really important so we know where kids are, but we also know that people have been implementing their learning continuity plan. They have been doing assessment and remediation to the best of their abilities under this remote setting. And we know it's going to be wild, particularly in certain parts of our state where the numbers are still really high for COVID. And so we'll be talking about what flexibilities and considerations we may want to request. So again, keep your posted, but we're hoping for a special meeting in February on that. Also that we did have to submit an update on our COVID-19 addendum, and there was quite a bit of talk about the alternative school dashboard, alternative school status, the DAS schools, and taking a look at the cohort. And so we did send some modification requests in. Again, with the change in leadership in Washington, we're hoping to keep our system of the state and federal connected, so it's not two separate programs, and we're working within the guidelines that we have. You might have heard that Superintendent Cindy Martin, who's the current superintendent in San Diego Unified, was recommended by President Biden as the Deputy Secretary of Education for the Federal Department of Education, which would give us a really strong California voice with our large population and huge number of English learners. We think actually that will be really helpful in the work going forward to understand the demands and the challenges that we face in the school. We also approved some career technical education incentive grants, and we dealt with some waivers as well. But generally speaking, that was our summary. Again, we did our meeting remotely as well, and I'll just ask Member Rucker if she'd like to add any comments on behalf of the board as well. Both of us have served on the board for 10 years and are in our 11th year now on the board. So Member Rucker?
Well, thank you very much, Board Member Strauss. And actually, she's too modest to say this, but Board Member Strauss was recently reappointed to an additional term on the board. So I want to make sure that that is recognized. And I am actually at the end of my third term. This is my 12th year on the board, and next year would be the last year that I would be, next January would be the end of my term. It is my pleasure to welcome all the new members on our IQC, and I especially, again, want to shout out to our student member. This has been a historic week, crowned by an inauguration that saw a young lady who's a graduate of California Public Schools, whose mother is a California school teacher, standing on the podium and electrifying the nation. It's the reason why in California, the attention we have paid to student voice is very important. So it's while people trot out those, banal compliments about what her future will be and, maybe she will be the next president, the fact of the matter is she was electrifying on Wednesday. And so we have among us and sitting on our panel a student who is also a very strong and capable leader. We see in the potential of every student who comes to give their voice to the work we do here and who give their voices through the work they give to you as their classroom teachers, what their potential already is. We don't have to look for simple models or single models to know that our students are great and their potential for what they want to be and where their dreams are get realized every day in the work that we do. That's what makes the work that you all are doing here on the IQC very, very important. And it also means the conversations you have and the dialogue we have on tough topics and on difficult subjects and considerations also becomes very important. So there's a lot of work that's in front of you. We have the textbook adoptions, curriculum considerations to look at. We also have the critical conversations about what it means to look at schooling now. Schooling in the era of COVID has become a conversation that people are looking at and taking the advantage of thinking about what we can do differently and what does it mean to continue talking about schooling and accountability and its multiple purposes, especially right now. And so, as you heard Dr. Strauss say earlier, the board had an in-depth and serious conversation about assessment and testing. For a lot of you, you are probably in school districts where the assessment window is probably already open or it's imminent. And so this conversation about what to do about assessment and testing is important. But it's also important to take a look at why we're doing testing and what the purpose of assessment really is. Is it solely to give us information about the progress that students are making toward our academic goals for proficiency as well as performance and attainment of the standards? Or should our assessment and accountability system be telling us how the services and the supports that schools are providing to close the achievement gap? So here's an opportunity to think a bit again about the conversation and the gaps about closing the achievement gap that currently exist in that conversation. Here's an opportunity for this IQC in your with your accountability subcommittee to think about how you can have a role in that discussion and in the work that we intend to do. So the purpose of those conversations and the purposes of the work that we do in accountability is something that we all should be thinking about continuously. We have every single framework talks about assessment and the testing and accountability and the purposes of the assessment. We have a math framework before you that's going to do that. But I would ask you to also think about what are the other indicators that we should be concerned with that give us information about the work and the programs and services that schools are providing, not just what the role is for curriculum as a support or as a service, but how it addresses the disparities and the part of the conversation we still haven't figured out how to have. So I invite you as we go forward in this new year with having impaneled a new chair and having impaneled the opportunity and the goal of continuing and broadening the work and the conversation of the IQC, I invite you to also think about what we are doing about schooling that actually addresses the achievement gap and actually puts the quality in the instructional quality that we are pressing for and charged to address with our schools. Thank you so much.
Thank you both for your report. I did not know that Amanda Gorman's mother was a teacher. The story just gets better and better and better. So that's awesome. All right, so next on the agenda for today, item 1I, which is the 2021 IQC goals. And for this part, the public comment for this agenda item is now open. So please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on the 2021 IQC goals. The proposed 2021 goals are, number 1, ensure every member of the Instructional Quality Commission follows the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act. Number 2, provide support for the 2021 Arts, Education, and World Languages Instructional Materials Adoptions. Number 3, provide support for the 2021 revision of the Mathematics Framework and 2024 revision of the Physical Education Framework. Goal number 4, provide support for the preparation of the 2023 Mathematics Instructional Materials Adoption. Goal number 5, provide support for the launch events, rollout plans, and professional learning activities of the various curriculum frameworks and model curricula as appropriate. Goal number 6, ensure that the IQC's organization reflects the advisory needs of the State Board of Education. Goal number 7, engage and participate in a continuous improvement protocol as the IQC works through relevant curriculum and instruction issues. And goal number 8 is to remain informed on California's multi-tiered system of support and integrate as appropriate guidance aligned with the multi-tiered system of support. Are there any questions or comments about the proposed goals for 2021? If so, please raise your hand. I see no hands. So can I have a motion to approve the 2021 goals as presented?
Chair Rustin,
Yes.
I just wanted to point out to the commission that the physical education framework, the date is still to be determined. So I just wanted to point that out. It's pending funding.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Munoz.
I move to approve the goals of the IQC 2021 goals.
Thank you. Commissioner Munoz has moved. Commissioner Chapman.
I second the motion.
Thank you. The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Chapman. Is there any discussion or public comment?
One moment as we check the public comment line.
There is no public comment.
Okay, the public comment line for this agenda item is now closed. I believe we are ready to vote.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Andre?
Yes.
Commissioner Sturgo-Mansa?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Vice Chair Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Renteria? Chair Rustin?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Mayor Howard?
Yes.
Senator Allen?
Yes.
Motion passes 17-0.
Okay. We will now take a 15-minute break, which by my count brings us back at precisely 10 o'clock. Okay, commissioners? So we are on break until 10 a.m. Thank you. Executive Committee to order. The public comment line for this committee is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on this agenda item. We are now at agenda item 2A, appointment of subject matter committee chairs. Commissioners, distributed this morning is a chart indicating your committee preferences. I will reference this chart as I make IQC Chair selections, and the Executive Committee will use it as we make committee assignments. All right, so just as a bit of a reminder, the bylaws call for the chair to select the SMC chairs. And looking at the preferences, I basically went with everybody's top choice, except in cases where that was not possible because either nobody indicated chair or multiple people indicated chair. So we're going to start with English Language Arts. And for English Language Arts, Commissioner Jarvis, are you ready to accept the duties of Chair of English Language Arts, English Language Development, SMC for 2021?
I am.
Commissioner Jarvis, is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. I did not hear Commissioner Jarvis. I don't know if that's me.
Oh, I heard Commissioner Jarvis.
You all heard? Okay, so something is wrong with my audio. Let me see. All right. Hopefully I fixed it. Now on to mathematics. For mathematics, Commissioner Chapman, are you ready to accept the duties of Chair of the Mathematics SMC for 2021?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you. Now on to history, social science. Commissioner Munoz, are you ready to accept the duties of Chair of the History Social Science SMC for 2021?
Yes, I am.
Great, thank you. Now on to science. Science is one of the subject matter committees where nobody indicated top choice to be chair. And science has a total of 3 members because there is nothing currently on the timeline related to this SMC in particular. So looking at the chart, I am interested in hearing if...
Commissioner Rustin?
Yes.
I'm happy. I know they highlighted it blue. I'm happy to take science and health. I know there's nothing on the agenda. That's fine.
Okay, great. Thank you. So Commissioner Fairchild indicates that she is ready to accept the duties of Chair of Science SMC for 2021. Now on to health. So Commissioner Fairchild, is that the same for health as well? Yes, I thought I heard you say health.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. So Commissioner Fairchild has indicated that she's ready to accept the duties of Chair of the Health SMC for 2021. Now on to physical education. For physical education, Commissioner Fairchild is the only person who indicated interest in being Chair of Physical Education. Commissioner Fairchild, are you ready to accept the duties of Chair of Physical Education?
Yes, that's fine. I just noted on the chart that Commissioner Chapman was highlighted, so I just wanted to see if that's something that she's interested in.
Certainly. Commissioner Chapman?
I don't mind taking on that responsibility as well, considering that Commissioner Fairchild is in 2 spots already.
Either way.
Okay, I do just want to point out, Commissioner Chapman, that there's a whole lot of math going on, and there will be some PE as well, depending on the dates, or I think it was a funding issue. So I just want to point that out before, you know.
That is why I did not mark it as a choice, but I am at the will of the commission.
So I'm happy to because the 2 that the science and health are going to be very quiet this year, so I'm happy to take PE. That's fine.
Okay. So Commissioner Fairchild has indicated that she's ready to accept the duties of chair of physical education SMC. Now on to arts. For arts, Commissioner Astorga Almanza, are you ready to accept the duties of chair of the arts SMC for 2021?
Yes, I accept.
Thank you. Now, world languages. For world languages, Commissioner Renteria, are you ready to accept the duties of chair of world languages SMC for 2021?
Yes.
Thank you. Now on to education technology. For education technology, Commissioner Gotanda, are you ready to accept the duties of chair of the EdTech SMC for 2021?
Yes.
Thank you. And as for ad hoc, I would like to know if Commissioner Williamson is ready to accept the duties of chair of the ad hoc committee on the California System of Support for 2021.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so now we are on to agenda item 2B, which is assignment of members to the subject matter committees. So in this case, members of the executive committee, let us consult the survey results and decide on who should serve on each of the committees. So let's start with English Language Arts, English Language Development, SMC, and work our way across the page. So for English Language Arts, we are looking for 3 members. The chair is Commissioner Jarvis. So we would need 2 members to add to the English SMC. I recognize Commissioner Fairchild.
I see that Commissioner Pantai and Commissioner Andre noted it as her first choice. So those 2.
All right, that makes sense to me.
I agree with that.
Okay. So we have, for English Language Arts, we have Commissioner Jarvis as chair and Commissioner Andre and Commissioner Pantai as the other 2 members of English Language Arts.
Yes.
For mathematics, this is a SMC where we are looking for 7 members total. We currently have Commissioner Chapman as chair of the Math SMC, so we need 6 other members.
And we have 9 people that indicated. 9, okay. Should we go by the order of preference, their priority, like the...
Commissioner Williamson indicated vice chair, so.
Yes.
So if we take those who indicated math as their first or second choice, that'd be a starting place. So Williamson, certainly Commissioner Fairchild, as well as Commissioner Popovich. So that has 1, 2, 3, that takes us to 4.
And so
so then the 3.
If we were to do it backwards, and for those that did it as a 4th, if you take those 3 away, that's already 7.
That's what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. So that means we are looking at the Math SMC being made up of Commissioner Chapman, Commissioner Costa Hernandez, Commissioner Fairchild, Commissioner Munoz, Commissioner Popovich, and Commissioner Williamson. Okay. So on to history, social science.
Here we need 7.
I think Commissioner Renteria, no? Was she another one?
Yeah. Yes, but if I'm an extra, it's okay. we can remove me. But I think I was part of the 7, right?
I included you in the 7. If we took out the people who put it as 4th, you would be included in the 7.
I'm sorry, was that for math or?
Yeah, we're on history, social science.
But we left one person out for math. When we had read the names, we only had a total of 6. And
oh, really?
So the person missing would have been Commissioner Renteria.
Oh, okay, I see.
Got it.
Now, I would like to point out that the History Social Science SMC has the highest number of number 1s because I suppose History Social Science is perhaps everybody's favorite subject. And I say that as an unbiased voice in education. So we have several people who indicated History Social Science, and we need 7 total. I am being mindful of commissioners who haven't yet been named to a SMC in any kind of way.
So quick question. Technically, wouldn't we be able to remove you because as the executive chair, you're part of all of them? So that's already 1 less?
Yes.
That's
yes,
correct.
indeed.
So then that would leave us with 8.
Yes, indeed. So going off of rankings, student member Howard indicated History Social Science as her 3rd. She did indicate 3 other SMCs that she's interested in.
Okay.
I feel not great about saying that a student member is not going to make the cut. That just doesn't sound right. However, student member Howard with 3 other SMCs, then it would make sense that be the name or be the one that is not in the 7 for the History Social Science SMC. Does that sound about right to the?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So that means for the History Social Science SMC, we have Commissioner Friedman, we have Commissioner Gotanda, Commissioner Munoz, Commissioner Pantai, Commissioner Williamson, Commissioner Young, and Senator Allen. All right, so now on to the Science SMC. This one is pretty straightforward. We have only 3 people indicated at all. So that leaves us with Commissioner Chapman, Commissioner Fairchild, who will be chair, and Commissioner Jarvis for Science SMC.
Looks good.
All right. Health, we are looking for 3 members of the Health SMC. We have
3.
3 who indicated that they'd like to be on it. However, we asked Commissioner Fairchild to chair it, which leaves Commissioner Andre, Commissioner Friedman, and student member Howard.
If we're going with preference, then Commissioner Andre, that was her 3rd preference.
Correct.
And I want to get student member Howard back on something that she indicated.
Correct. Yes. Very much so. All right, so that means for the Health SMC, we have Commissioner Fairchild, Commissioner Friedman, and student member Howard.
I noted that the yellow was for vice chair though, right? And
from last year.
Oh,
last year's vice chair, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, just wanted to make sure.
All right, so now physical education. We are looking for 7 members of the Physical Education Subject Matter Committee.
5.
So 5 who asked for it. So that means Commissioner Andre, Commissioner Astorga Almanza, Commissioner Fairchild, Commissioner Friedman, and student member Howard. But we are looking for 2 others to add to the Physical Education SMC.
Commissioner Gotanda want to join?
I was hoping to get, well, if I had to choose, since I wasn't on math, which is super okay, depending on the amount of responsibility, I would like to go back to world language.
And just to note, world languages will have a heavy load this year.
Okay.
Okay, so should we look at commissioners who currently don't have very many assignments?
If I may, Chair.
Sure.
I know that we had 7 here, and that was in anticipation of the physical education framework. I might add that although 7 was a goal, it was just more to ensure we would have coverage. So I think we would be okay with the numbers as they are. And then if we find that we need to add additional, we certainly could.
So we can keep it at 5.
That's great.
Okay. All right, so that means then for the physical education SMC, we have Commissioner Andre, Commissioner Astorga Almanza, Commissioner Fairchild, Commissioner Friedman, and student member Howard. All right. So now arts. Arts, we're looking for 7 members.
I think when we take you out, Chair Reston, it equals
Yes,
7 with everybody listed.
Sounds good. All right, so then for the arts SMC, we have Commissioner Astorga Almanza, Commissioner Chapman, Commissioner Costa Hernandez, Commissioner Fairchild, Commissioner Pantai, Commissioner Popovich, and student member Howard. All right, so now that takes us to world languages. For world languages, we're looking for 7.
I know we have 5, but Commissioner Gotanda just mentioned that she wanted to be in the world languages, so.
Correct. So that takes us to 6.
I'd be happy to do it. I also would like to give an opportunity for maybe any commissioners who don't have anything yet, but I'm happy to do it.
So we do have, even with Commissioner Gotanda on the world languages SMC, we still have space for another by my count, because that means Commissioner Gotanda, Commissioner Jarvis, Commissioner Munoz, Commissioner Pantai, Commissioner Popovich, Commissioner Williamson.
What if we encourage our new commissioner? I know that world languages is going to be a little heavy, but it's also a great opportunity just to kind of come in and hit the ground running. It's a great learning experience. I'm being a little biased because world languages is the best committee, but I do think it would be awesome to have her join us if she can.
Well, I was also wondering about our other new commissioner, because Commissioner Young, although she was here in November, she's still relatively new. And right now, her only placement, I believe, is history, social science, and then ed tech and ad hoc, which we haven't gotten to those yet anyways. But, ed tech is not going to have a lot this year. So I was wondering if Commissioner Young might also be interested.
I think we just need to remember, like with the new commissioners too, is the availability, because we are doing the adoption. So
that is true.
We need to be very transparent that they would need to accommodate those dates as best as they can.
Correct.
May I ask Director Coates a clarifying question? So earlier we got a survey regarding our availability for some of these things. And so my question is that for everyone on the commission, or it would be just for the SMC?
So first we look at the SMC and we would select from there. And then as we need additional commissioners, then we would go to the full commission.
Thank you.
So can I ask just a clarifying, because currently I'm to be on the math and the arts as far as kind of workload. I don't know if that would be wise for me to be on. I don't know what the workload would be to be considered for the world language in addition to the other 2 committees.
Yeah, no, you make an excellent point.
So because the world languages and the arts are both instructional materials adoptions, and they have back-to-back dates in April and back-to-back dates in July. I would suggest, potentially thinking about considering math plus one of the instructional materials adoption. So arts or world languages versus both adoptions, if your consideration is regarding the time.
So that means we currently have 6 for world languages SMC. It does not sound like it would be prudent for Commissioner Popovich to add that, since she is already serving on the arts SMC. So I'm curious if Commissioner Young would be interested in serving on the world languages SMC. However, it's also a good point that, yes, the time requirement is a little heavier given the instructional materials adoption.
I'm sorry, I'm struggling to find my raise hand feature right now.
It's under reactions now. It's not the same as before.
Took me to the break to figure it out too.
Okay.
Yeah, no, yesterday, I was like, where is the raise hand? It was so easy last time, and now I can't find it. And yeah.
I'm glad I'm not alone. Yes, I'm happy to serve on world languages.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so that takes us to 7 for world languages SMC. And those 7, again, just to clarify, are Commissioner Gotanda, Commissioner Jarvis, Commissioner Munoz, Commissioner Pantai, Commissioner Renteria, Commissioner Williamson, and Commissioner Young. Mm-hmm. All right, so now on to education technology. And for education technology, we have Commissioner Gotanda as chair. So we need 2 other commissioners for EdTech. And we have several who indicated interest.
What about taking the 2 that requested to be vice chair?
Mm-hmm. Chair or vice chair, Chapman.
I would actually be okay removing myself just because I realize world languages is pretty heavy this year. So, I think that would be one less to consider.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So that means we would
look at Commissioner, is it Chapman and
Commissioner Young, since Commissioner Rustin is already out and Commissioner Astorga Almanza put it as 4th.
Yes.
I think that works.
Great.
All right. So that means for EdTech, we have Commissioner Chapman, Commissioner Gotanda, and Commissioner Young. As far as our ad hoc committee on the California System of Support, we're looking for 3 members total. We have Commissioner Williamson as chair, and we have 2 other commissioners who indicated interest, those 2 being Commissioner Popovich and Commissioner Young. This might be a great time to check each commissioner's assignments to make sure we're not overlooking or overloading anybody. Any thoughts on whether or not, I'm just going down the list. It looks like, although we haven't determined liaison yet, we have Commissioner Andre with 2 assignments, Commissioner Astorga Almanza with PE and arts, and we know arts, of course, is heavy. We have 3 assignments for Chapman, 3 assignments for Acosta Hernandez, multiple chairs and such for Commissioner Fairchild.
Okay. I would think if the 3 who are there, I don't know exactly how much the ad hoc committee does, but if the 3 who are there are not, I'm trying to look, I don't think they're super overloaded, then I think I would be okay with those 3.
Yeah, I think so as well, particularly since we're not quite, well, I'm not quite sure just how much might be on the plate of ad hoc this year. I don't think there's much expected in terms of workload for ad hoc this year. So that would leave us with Commissioner Popovich, Commissioner Williamson, and Commissioner Young for ad hoc.
Great.
All right. And now on to liaison. And multiple people indicated interest in being on the concurrent committee for the California subject matter projects. My understanding is that the one area of focus for that this year is mathematics. So my understanding is that it would make sense for the Math SMC chair to be the liaison, since this is a math-oriented or math-heavy year.
And also I see, Chair Rustin, I see that Member Strauss has her hand raised.
Oh, yes, sorry. Board Member Strauss?
Yeah, I just want to share about the Concurrence Commission. Of course, everything is remote now. It normally meets in January and in June, and has the heads of all the subject matter projects that meet to talk about their goals and their budget. We normally meet in Oakland. Obviously, the meeting next week is remote. But it is something, and then I just would say Member Costa Hernandez already goes to those meetings, just so you know, and so do I as a liaison. But it is an interesting opportunity to hear and to be part of the discussion about the priorities of the subject matter projects. And they will be very involved in and are involved in some distant learning curriculum guidance that is part of a governor's budget item from the last budget cycle. So I just wanted to share with you, it is remote at this point, and so likely June will be remote as well. And so the meeting when it's remote is only 2 hours. So just so you know. Thanks.
Thank you. Board member, student member Howard.
I'm just looking at the sheet, and it looks like on the chart it is indicated that I had put something for the this one and then the sunshine one as well. I don't remember doing that. I think I might have done it by mistake. So okay. Just to be noted, I think that was an accident.
Sure.
I would like to maybe recommend Commissioner Andre for the liaison. I know that Commissioner Costa Hernandez already attends, but it might be nice to be able to spread that out a little bit. I don't know what just looking at the workloads.
Right.
Or Commissioner Friedman, either one.
I see a hand from Commissioner Astorga Almanza.
Yes. Student member Howard said she didn't recall selecting those two, and I don't remember selecting those either. Okay. And I'm just curious, are we looking for one liaison?
Yes.
Or
yes.
Okay. One. So I would like to remove my name. Thank you.
Thank you.
I like Commissioner Fairchild's recommendation for Commissioner Andre. I think that would be a good choice.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think so too. Looking at workload balance as well. Okay. So Commissioner Andre. All right, so we are. Okay,
and then the Sunshine Club, everybody can join.
Plenty of sunshine there. So for the, let me go back once. Board Member Strauss.
So Commissioner Andre, so there's a meeting next week on the 27th. So I will send you the information. So it's 2 hours, and maybe you can join. That's all.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I just want to formally ask Commissioner Andre, are you ready to accept the duties of liaison for the Concurrence Committee for California Subject Matter Projects for 2021?
Yes, I am.
Great. Thank you. And for Sunshine Club, good news. A lot of people indicated interest in Sunshine Club. And my understanding is that each person who is here who indicated it can be on the Sunshine Club.
I would like to just recommend, so I don't know that I should be the lead for the Sunshine Club this year, only because a few of us we are done after this year. So I think it would be nice for somebody different to kind of like take the lead, because everybody can be a part of it, but it kind of helps when one person's the one like collecting and working with Denise. I put myself on there just because I want to like be supportive of the Sunshine Club, but I'm also aware that given that some of us are going to be leaving after this year, I don't want it to be something that goes away.
Yes, and I'll also note that generally we put something together for those that are leaving, so it would be best if the lead or a member whose term is not expiring at the end of this year. And so though anyone can join, it's helpful if we do have at least one lead that we can contact. So I'll turn it back over to the chair, but I wanted to make those notes.
So if I put together the folks who indicated that they perhaps did not indicate Sunshine Club on their form, and then folks who are terming out, to my knowledge, that leaves us with Commissioner Young, Commissioner Williamson, Commissioner Popovich, Commissioner Jarvis, Commissioner Friedman, and Commissioner Chapman. I'm not quite sure if you're terming out this year or next. So of those names, is there anybody who would like to take the lead on Sunshine Club, who would be the one who'd be in communication with Seaford staff to put together a nice recognition for folks at the end of this year who are terming out? I see a hand from Commissioner Jarvis.
I'd love to spread the sunshine.
All right. All right, so Commissioner Jarvis will take the lead on Sunshine Club, and each person who did indicate interest in the Sunshine Club will be still part of the club and be in support of that. So very good, very good. All right. So Commissioner Jarvis has indicated that she is ready to accept the duties of the Commission Sunshine Club for 2021. Now, Denise, if I could please have you read back the assignments for SMC chairs and SMC membership and appointed liaisons.
If this is not what anybody else has, please let me know. For the English Language Arts, English Language Development, Commissioner Jarvis as chair, with the members being Commissioner Andre and Commissioner Pantai. For the Mathematics, the chair would be Commissioner Chapman, with the members being Commissioner Costa Hernandez, Commissioner Fairchild, Commissioner Munoz, Commissioner Popovich, Commissioner Williamson, and Commissioner Renteria. For the History Social Science, the chair is Commissioner Munoz, with the members being Commissioner Friedman, Commissioner Gotanda, Commissioner Williamson, Commissioner Pantai, Commissioner Young, and Senator Allen. For Science, the chair is Commissioner Fairchild, with the members being Commissioner Chapman and Commissioner Jarvis. Health, the chair is Commissioner Fairchild, with the members being Commissioner Howard and Commissioner Friedman. Physical Education, the chair is Commissioner Fairchild, with the members being Commissioner Friedman, Commissioner Andre, Commissioner Storgal-Mansa, and Commissioner Howard. Arts, the chair is Commissioner Storgal-Mansa, with the members being Commissioner Chapman, Commissioner Costa Hernandez, Commissioner Fairchild, Commissioner Pantai, Commissioner Popovich, and Commissioner Howard. World Language, the chair is Commissioner Renteria, with the members being Commissioner Gotanda, Commissioner Young, Commissioner Jarvis, Commissioner Munoz, Commissioner Pantai, and Commissioner Williamson. For EdTech, the chair is Commissioner Gotanda, with the members being Commissioner Young and Commissioner Chapman. Ad Hoc, the chair is Commissioner Williamson, with the members being Commissioner Popovich and Commissioner Young. Commissioner Andre is our CSMP liaison, and Commissioner Jarvis is taking the lead on the Sunshine Club.
All right, that sounded correct to me. Thank you, Denise. So the public comment part, we'll now hear public comment on any items for the executive committee. Are there any members of the public wishing to make public comment at this time?
There is no public comment.
Okay, the public comment line for this agenda item is now closed, and I now close the executive committee meeting. Now we are on to agenda item 3, which is the Ad Hoc Committee on the California System of Support. And I ask for the Ad Hoc Committee Chair, who is Commissioner Williamson, to please call the meeting to order.
Thank you, Chair Reston. I call the meeting to order of the Ad Hoc Committee on California System of Support. The public comment line for this committee is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to make a public comment on matters related to this committee. The members of the 2020 Ad Hoc Committee are Commissioner Popovich and Commissioner Young. And we, of course, would like to note that the Seaford staff to the Ad Hoc Committee is Executive Director Coates, so we have the election of Vice Chair. So I would like to conduct an election of Vice Chair. Our only item of business is the election of a Vice Chair. Note, only the Ad Hoc Committee members can nominate Vice Chair candidates, and all committee members, including the IQC Chair, vote. I call for nominations from the floor.
I just have a question. There's 2 of us and we're nominating between each other.
I believe you can nominate each other and then we would vote, or one could nominate the other, and the other may choose not to be Vice Chair. But yes, being a small committee, it's a little bit different.
Okay. Then I move to nominate Commissioner Popovich for the role of Vice Chair.
Okay, I have, let's see, Commissioner Popovich nominated by Commissioner Young. Are there any other nominations? Okay, I now close the nominations. So by acclamation in accordance to Robert's Rules of Order, Commissioner Popovich has been nominated by Commissioner Young to be Vice Chair of the Ad Hoc Committee. Does the committee approve of the nomination of Commissioner Popovich? Denise, will you conduct a roll call vote, please?
Chair Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
IQC Chair Reston?
Yes.
The motion passes 4-0. Commissioner Popovich is the Vice Chair of the Ad Hoc Committee.
Thank you. Now we'll hear public comment on any items for the Ad Hoc Committee. Are there any members of the public wishing to make public comment on this item?
There is not.
Thank you. The public comment line for this agenda item is now closed. I close the Ad Hoc Committee meeting.
Okay, I now ask the Arts SMC Chair, who is Commissioner Astorga Almanza, to please call the Arts SMC to order.
Thank you, Chair Rustin. I call the Arts SMC to order. The public comment line for this committee is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on this agenda item. Is there any public comment, Denise?
The public comment will come later, but we have opened the line, so
okay.
Yes.
Thank you. The members of the 2021 Arts SMC are myself, Commissioner Storga-Almanza, Commissioner Chapman, Commissioner Costa Hernandez, Commissioner Fairchild, Commissioner Pantai, Commissioner Popovich, and student member Maya Howard. Seaford Staff to the Arts, SMC, are Kyle Petty, Consultant, and Cliff Rudnick, Administrator. Our only item of business today is the election of a Vice Chair for this subcommittee. And as a reminder, only Arts SMC members can nominate Vice Chair candidates, and all SMC members, including the IQC Chair, will be able to vote. So I call for nominations for Vice Chair from the floor.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez has her hand raised.
Thank you. I nominate Commissioner Pantai for Vice Chair.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez nominates Commissioner Pantai for Vice Chair. I see that Commissioner Chapman has her hand raised.
I was going to nominate Commissioner Pantai as well.
So Executive Director Coates, would I also still need to read Commissioner Chapman's nomination?
No, we already have the nomination for Commissioner Pantai, so you're fine there.
Okay. Any other nominations from the floor? Seeing none, I will now close the nominations. So since one person was nominated, Commissioner Pantai, by acclamation in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, Commissioner Pantai has been nominated by Commissioner Costa Hernandez to be the Vice Chair of the Arts Subject Matter Committee. Does the committee approve the nomination of Commissioner Pantai? Denise, will you conduct a roll call vote?
Chair Storga-Almanza?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich? Sorry, I can't hear you, Commissioner Popovich.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
IQC Chair Rustin?
Yes.
Motion passes. Commissioner Pantai is Vice Chair of the Arts Subject Matter Committee.
Congratulations, Commissioner Pantai. We'll now hear public comment on any items for the Arts Subject Matter Committee. Are there any members of the public wishing to make public comment on this item?
There is no public comment.
Thank you, Denise. The public comment line for this agenda item is now closed, and I now close the Arts Subject Matter Committee meeting. Thank you.
Okay, now it's time for Education Technology Committee. Commissioner Gotanda, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you, Chair Rustin. I call the Education Technology Committee to order. The public comment line for this committee is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on this agenda item. The members of the 2021 Education Technology Committee are Commissioner Chapman and Commissioner Young. And please note that the Seaford staff to the Education Technology Committee are Renee Ousley-Swank, and consultant, and Cliff Rudnick, administrator. Our only item of business today is to elect a vice chair for this subcommittee, and only members of the EdTech committee can nominate vice chair candidates, and all committee members, including the IQC chair, will vote. I now call nominations from the floor. Oh, Commissioner Chapman, I see your hand is raised.
I nominate Commissioner Young.
Commissioner Young has been nominated by Commissioner Chapman to be the vice chair of the Education Technology Committee. Are there any other nominations? Okay. I now close the nominations. By acclamation in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, Commissioner Young has been nominated by Commissioner Chapman to be the vice chair of the Education Technology Committee. Does the committee approve of the nomination of Commissioner Young? Denise, please conduct a roll call vote.
Chair Gotunda?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
IQC Chair Rustin?
Yes.
Motion passes. Commissioner Young is the vice chair of the Education Technology Committee.
Thank you, Denise. We'll now hear public comment on any items for the Education Technology Committee. Are there any members of the public wishing to make public comment on this item?
There is no public comment.
Great, thank you. The public comment line for this agenda item is now closed, and I now close the Education Technology Committee meeting.
Okay, it is now time for English Language Arts, English Language Development Subject Matter Committee. Commissioner Jarvis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioner Rustin. I call the English Language Arts, English Language Development Subject Matter Committee to order. The public comment line for this committee is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comments on this agenda item. The members of the 2021 ELA and ELD SMC are Commissioner Pantai and Commissioner Andre. Please note that the ELA and ELD SMC Chair, Seaford staff are Kyle Petty, Consultant, and Constantino Silva, Administrator. Our only item of business is the election of the Vice Chair for this subcommittee. Only the ELA and ELD committee members can nominate a Vice Chair candidate, and all committee members, including the IQC Chair, can vote. I call for nominations from the floor.
I nominate Commissioner Andre.
Commissioner Pantai nominates Commissioner Andre. By acclamations in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, Commissioner Andre has been nominated by Commissioner Pantai to be the Vice Chair of the English Language Arts, English Language Development Subject Matter Committee. Does the committee approve the nomination of the Commissioner? Denise will conduct a roll call vote.
Chair Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Andre?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai?
Yes.
IQC Chair Rustin?
Yes.
The motion passes. Commissioner Andre is Vice Chair of the English Language Arts, English Language Development Subject Matter Committee.
We'll now hear public comment on any items for the English Language Arts, English Language Development Committee. Are there any members of the public wishing to make public comment on this item?
There is no public comment.
The public comment line for this agenda item is now closed. I now close the English Language Arts, English Language Development Committee. Thank you.
It is now time for the Health Subject Matter Committee. Commissioner Fairchild, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I call the Health Subject Matter Committee to order. The public comment line for this committee is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on the agenda item. The members of the 2021 Health Subject Matter Committee are Commissioner Friedman and student member Maya Howard. Please note that the Health SMC, the staff are Jennifer Bentley and Cliff Rednick, Administrator. Our only item for business is the election of the Vice Chair for this subcommittee. I now call for nominations from the floor. Anyone?
I don't know if the IQC chair is allowed to nominate.
Can we nominate our student
exactly.
Commissioner? Maya?
Yes, you can, Commissioner Fairchild. So I would consider that a nomination of Commissioner Friedman nominating Commissioner Howard.
Commissioner Friedman has nominated Commissioner student Maya Howard to be vice chair of the subject matter committee.
The only question is, my term will end in, I believe, September.
Can we just reappoint at that point, that stage?
Yes. So Commissioner Howard's term will end in June. And so the meeting following, the committee would be able to nominate a new vice chair.
Thank you. Are there any more nominations? No. So by acclamation in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, Commissioner Friedman Commissioner student member Maya Howard has been nominated by Commissioner Friedman to be the vice chair of the Health Subject Matter Committee. Does the committee approve of the nominations? Denise, will you conduct a roll call vote?
Chair Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
IQC Chair Reston?
Yes.
The motion passes. Commissioner Howard is vice chair of the Health Subject Matter Committee.
Great. We'll now hear public comment on any items for the Health Subject Matter Committee. Are there any members of the public wishing to make public comment on this item?
There is no public comment.
The public comment line for this agenda item is now closed. I will now close the Health Subject Matter Committee meeting.
Thank you. Now it is time for History, Social Science Subject Matter Committee. Commissioner Munoz, the floor is yours.
Hi, I call the History, Social Science Subject Matter Committee to order. The public comment for this committee is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment regarding this agenda item. The members of the History, Social Science Subject Matter Committee are Commissioner Friedman, Commissioner Kotanda, Commissioner Pantai, Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Young, and Senator Allen. The History, Social Science Seaford staff is Ken McDonald and the consultant, and Cliff Reddick is the administrator. The only item of business is the election of a vice chair for this subcommittee. Note that only members can nominate vice chair candidates, and all committee members, including the IQC chair. I call for nominations from the floor. Are there any nominations for the floor?
Commissioner Munoz, I see the hand of Commissioner Williamson.
Commissioner Williamson.
Hi, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Gotanda for vice chair.
Is there any other nomination? I'm having problems with the reaction looking at it, so.
I do not see any other hands.
Okay. By acclamation, in accordance with Robert's Rules of Law, Commissioner Gotanda has been nominated to be vice chair of the History, Social Science Subject Matter Committee. Denise, will you conduct the roll call vote?
Chair Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Senator Allen?
Yes.
IQC Chair Reston?
Yes.
The motion passes. Commissioner Gotanda is the Vice Chair of the History Social Science Subject Matter Committee.
We will now hear public comment on any items for the History Social Science Subject Matter Committee. Are there any members wishing to make public comment on this item?
There is no public comment.
The public comment line for this agenda is now closed. I now close the History Social Science Subject Matter Committee meeting.
Thank you. Physical Education Subject Matter Committee, Commissioner Fairchild.
Okay, I would like to call the Physical Education Subject Matter Committee to order. The public comment line for this committee is now open. Please follow the instructions. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on this agenda item. The members of the 2021 Physical Education Subject Matter Committee are Commissioner Andre, Commissioner Astorga Almanza, Commissioner Friedman, and student member Commissioner Howard.
Shay, I just needed to mention that the staff, before you mentioned the staff, I had it wrong on the form, and it is Letty Cross and Kyle Petty.
Thank you very much for that correction. So Letty Krause and Kyle Petty are the consultants from the Seaford staff. Our only item of business is the election of the vice chair for this subcommittee. I now call for nominations from the floor.
I see the hand of Commissioner Andre.
Oh, thank you.
I nominate Commissioner Friedman.
Commissioner Andre has nominated Commissioner Friedman. Are there any other nominations?
I don't see any other hands, Commissioner.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands, by acclamation in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, Commissioner Andre has nominated Commissioner Friedman to be Vice Chair of the Physical Education Subject Matter Committee. Does the committee approve the nomination of the Commissioner? Denise, will you conduct a roll call vote?
Chair Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Andre?
Yes.
Commissioner Stargell-Munza?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
IQC Chair Reston?
Yes.
The motion passes. Commissioner Friedman is the Vice Chair of the Physical Education Subject Matter Committee.
Thank you. We will now hear any public comment on any items for the Physical Education Subject Matter Committee. Are there any members of the public wishing to make public comment on this item?
There is no public comment.
The public comment for this line agenda item is now closed. I now close the Physical Education Subject Matter Committee meeting.
It is now time for the Science Subject Matter Committee, Commissioner Fairchild.
I now call the Science Subject Matter Committee to order. The public comment line for this committee is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on this agenda item. The members of the 2021 Subject Matter Committee are Commissioner Chapman and Commissioner Jarvis. Our only item of business is the election of the vice chair for this subcommittee. I call for nominations from the floor. Commissioner Jarvis?
I nominate Commissioner Chapman.
Are there any other nominations? Commissioner Chapman?
I nominate Commissioner Jarvis.
So, do we do a roll call vote for both of these?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So Commissioner Jarvis has nominated Commissioner Chapman for vice chair. Because there's more than one nomination, we will hold an election by vote. Denise, will you conduct a roll call vote?
So for the first nominee is who we're voting for, Commissioner Chapman. Commissioner Fairchild? Chair Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
No.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
IQC Chair Rustin?
Hi, I was on mute. Yes.
For the second nominee, Commissioner Jarvis? Chair Fairchild?
So I'll just point out that since
Commissioner Chapman
received a majority of the votes, she would be vice chair.
Okay, thank you. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Chapman has been elected as vice chair of the Science Subject Matter Committee. We will now hear public comment on any items from the Subject Matter Committee. Are there any members of the public wishing to make public comment on this item?
There is no public comment.
Great. The public comment line for this agenda item is now closed. I now close the Subject Matter Committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. It is now time for World Language Subject Matter Committee. Commissioner Renteria, the floor is yours.
Good morning. I call the World Language Subject Matter Committee to order. The public comment line for this committee is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on this agenda item. The members of the 2021 World Language Subject Matter Committee are myself, Commissioner Gatonda, Commissioner Jarvis, Commissioner Munoz, Commissioner Young, Commissioner Pantai, and Commissioner Williamson. I also want to note that CFER staff to the World Language Subject Matter Committee are Aaron Berticio and Education Programs Assistant Cliff Rudnick, who's our administrator. Now our only item of business is the election of a vice chair for this subcommittee. Note that only World Language Subject Matter Committee members can nominate a vice chair candidate. Oh, well, this will be interesting. So let's go ahead and I will recognize you first, Commissioner Munoz.
I'd like to nominate Lily Jarvis as vice chair.
Okay. So let's see. Sorry. Thank you. Okay, so you have nomination for Commissioner Jarvis. I still see we have multiple nominations. So Commissioner Jarvis has been nominated by Commissioner Munoz. I still see other hands, correct? Or did they come down?
I don't see any hands.
No? Okay, I just want to make sure. I think my little reactions are slower than usual. So I now close the nominations then. So by acclamation, in accordance with Robert Rules of Orders, Commissioner Jarvis has been nominated by Commissioner Munoz to be vice chair of the World Languages Subject Matter Committee. Does the committee approve the nomination of Commissioner Jarvis? Denise, will you please conduct a roll call?
Renteria?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
IQC Chair Rustin?
Yes.
Motion passes. Commissioner Jarvis is vice chair of the World Languages Subject Matter Committee.
Well, congratulations, Commissioner Jarvis. We'll now hear public comment on any items for the World Languages Subject Matter Committee. Are there any members of the public wishing to make public comment on this item?
There is no public comment.
Okay. The public comment line for this agenda item is now closed. I now close the World Languages Subject Matter Committee meeting.
Thank you. It is now time for Mathematics Subject Matter Committee. Commissioner Chapman, the floor is yours.
Before we begin, Chair Reston,
Yes.
Because the Mathematics Subject Matter Committee will have a longer item, I'd like to suggest that we have a break. I think that it might be prudent to have at least a 20-minute break, and we may even want to say 30 minutes to allow folks to get a bite to eat before this item.
All right, sounds good to me. I assume this break would function more or less as our lunch, so we should probably make it 30 minutes.
That sounds perfect, yes.
Okay, so commissioners, 30-minute break. We will be back here at 11:35. 11:35. See you then. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. It is now time for the Mathematics Subject Matter Committee. So it is Commissioner Chapman. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioner Rustin. I call the Mathematics Subject Matter Committee to order. Public comment line for this agenda item is now open and will take place later in the Subject Matter Committee. Please follow the directions you see on your screen at this time if you would like to give public comment. The members of the 2021 Mathematics SMC are Commissioner Costa Hernandez, Commissioner Fairchild, Commissioner Munoz, Commissioner Popovich, Commissioner Renteria, and Commissioner Williamson. The Seaford staff supporting the Mathematics SMC are Kyle Petty, Education Programs Consultant, and Constantino Silva, Administrator. Our only item for business is the election of the Vice Chair for this subcommittee. I call for nominations from the floor.
And Chair Chapman, I'm sorry, just to correct, you do have more than one item for business in your committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Coates. I did notice that as I was saying it. We will have several items. So I see that Commissioner Munoz's hand is raised. Would you like to make a nomination for SMC Vice Chair?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Williamson for Vice Chair.
Okay, I have a nomination for Commissioner Williamson. Are there any other nominations? I am not seeing any other hands up, so Commissioner Munoz has nominated Commissioner Williamson for Vice Chair. By acclamation, in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, Commissioner Munoz has been Commissioner Williamson has been nominated by Commissioner Munoz to be Vice Chair of the Mathematics Subject Committee. Denise, will you conduct a roll call vote, please?
Chair Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Renteria? Commissioner Renteria? Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
IQC Chair Reston?
Yes.
The motion passes. Commissioner Williamson is Vice Chair of the Mathematics Subject Matter Committee.
Congratulations, Commissioner Williamson. Now we move on to item B, the Mathematics Framework for California Public Schools, Kindergarten Grade 12. This is an opportunity for us to recommend to the full commission approval of the draft mathematics framework for the first 60 days public review and comment period. Today, we are taking action on the draft mathematics framework recommended by the Mathematics Curriculum Framework and Evaluation Criteria Committee, the Math CFCC, at their last meeting in December 2020. I'd like to pause and thank the team of writers who drafted chapters to meet the state board approved guidelines and then made revisions based on the consensus decisions of the Math CFCC. Thank you, Dr. Brian Lindeman, lead writer, Professor Katie Early, Dr. Ben Ford, Dr. Joe Bowler, and Dr. Jenny Langer Osuno. The writers were thorough and responsive, and the chapters follow state board guidance and reflect CFCC consensus. I look forward to our discussion of the draft framework this morning, but first I ask that Executive Director Coates to provide some context for today's discussion and action.
Thank you so much. Last month, as you heard, we completed a major milestone for the Math framework, the mathematics framework, and the last meeting of the mathematics CFCC that was appointed by the State Board of Education in January of 2020. The first meeting was held in person in the month of February of 2020, and the rest of the meetings for that committee were held entirely virtual due to the pandemic. Moving from an in-person meeting model to an entirely virtual model presented, as you know very well in your own workplaces, many challenges, but it also gave us many opportunities to innovate and refine the process. So I'm pleased to report that the CFCC and also the Curriculum Frameworks and Instructional Resources Division, CFIRD, with the invaluable support from the Technology Services Division, the boardroom staff, the Mathematics CFCC co-chairs, all worked very tirelessly every meeting to revise the chapters, and we were able to find a way that allowed the committee to carry out its mandated duties in an effective and an efficient way. I would also like to take a moment to thank Constantino Silva, administrator of the Curriculum Frameworks Unit and the project lead, as well as Kyle Petty, who have both put in many hours on the draft. I'd like to extend many thanks to our State Board Member Liaison, Member Rucker, and also to Pamela Castleman for their guidance to the committee and for attending each of the CFCC meetings. And I'd also like to thank Mathematics SMC Chair Chapman, as well as all of the commissioners that attended those important CFCC meetings. Finally, I'd like to thank the members of the public who have been engaged in this process and have provided public comment that has served to strengthen the draft. The draft framework before you is the result of 8 meetings, 2 more than originally planned, many chapter reads and rereads, scores of recommendations received via written and oral public comments, and literally hundreds and hundreds of recommended edits proposed and discussed by the Math CFCC. So with that, it's truly a pleasure to bring this draft document today. You will review and revise the draft framework and then take action to send it out for public review and comment. Your responsibility is to ensure the draft framework meets the guidelines that you recommended to the State Board of Education in November 2019 and that the State Board of Education approved in January of 2020. Before we begin that discussion, though, I'd like to remind us of the path for the mathematics framework. And I'd like to start with what a framework is and also lead us through the highlights of the current framework, which is the 2013 framework, and the path that has led us to where we are today. So what is a framework? As you know, the standards are the what we want students to be able to know and do. The framework is the how, or the instructional guidance, and then the instructional materials are a tool. This curriculum framework is guidance and support for instruction and learning based on the California Common Core state standards for mathematics, which were adopted by the State Board of Education in 2010. Its primary audience is educators who teach mathematics and the administrators and other decision makers who support that instruction. Also, the instructional materials chapter provides guidance to publishers as they prepare instructional materials. A useful framework provides a range of instructional and assessment examples, articulates a vision for high-quality mathematics education, and can be used as a tool for professional learning. A framework is not a scope and sequence. It is not curriculum. It is not instructional materials for students, and it does not replace pre-service courses or in-service trainings. It does not replace ongoing professional learning, though it is a tool for such, and it does not impose a mandate on schools. So a bit about the 2013 mathematics framework. This framework was the first framework that was developed after the adoption of the California Common Core state standards for mathematics. And the 2013 framework was centered on focus, rigor, and coherence. It contains grade level chapters. It is highly descriptive, especially in grades TK through 8. It includes cluster level emphases at each grade level with examples of activities and descriptions for each standard for mathematical practice and domain. And finally, it contains several appendices, including financial literacy, modeling, methodology, and others. So why a new framework? Well, we know that instructional materials are generally adopted on an 8-year cycle, and those instructional materials are based on the content of a new framework. And while the standards have not changed, our context in California has. Since the development of the 2013 framework, we have implemented our new state accountability system, the California School Dashboard, which provides us with more information regarding student achievement on multiple measures to ensure, as you heard, we are still working to make modifications and improvements to ensure that we have information regarding the supports needed to close the achievement gap. And we know that an achievement gap exists in mathematics. We also have implemented the local control funding formula and the local control accountability plans, as well as our state assessment system. Our collective goal is to produce a new framework that will build on the 2013 framework and incorporate current research and best practices revealed since the 2013 framework, as well as strengthen areas as determined by the State Board of Education guidelines. We have new research regarding how to best engage students. We have an opportunity to bring forth a chapter regarding data science. We have an opportunity to ensure access, equity, and inclusion for all of our students, and to present and strengthen the learning progressions so that there is a clear guidance on how to support students as they move through grade levels and understand mathematics as a beautiful content. This is the perfect time to develop a new mathematics framework. Dr. Lindeman, lead writer, and Constantino Silva will be providing highlights regarding how the framework meets the guidelines in just a moment. Before they do, let's talk a bit about the pathway to the 2021 revisions. So as you see here on the screen, from May to August of 2019, we posted the CFCC online application. The CFCC is responsible for developing a complete draft of the California Mathematics Framework. During the month of August, we held a series of 4 focus group meetings across the state where we engaged current mathematics educators about how to improve the current framework, and also included student voice as we asked students about their mathematical experiences in the classroom. We compiled, sorted, and condensed the focus group input and drafted guidelines for the revision of the mathematics framework. The Instructional Quality Commission, this body, received all the draft guidelines, held public comment on the draft guidelines during their November 2019 meeting, and also, at this time, this body also made recommendations for the 20 CFCC members and recommended the guidelines and CFCC members to the State Board of Education, who then approved them at their January meeting. So today, you will discuss and request revisions to the draft framework, knowing that the public will be providing feedback on the draft that you move forward. You will then ask the full Instructional Quality Commission to take action to direct the writers and staff to make those revisions before it goes out for its first public review and comment period. You will also ask the IQC Chair and Vice Chair to review and approve the requested changes to the draft framework after the writers have made them. The 60-day public review and comment period would be scheduled from February 8th through April 8th. CDE staff will compile the comments received from the public, and you will review them at your May 2021 meeting. You will then take action to recommend the revised draft framework to the State Board of Education, and the draft will be posted for another 60-day public review and comment period before State Board of Education adoption in November of 2021. So at every point, including the mathematics subject matter committee meetings and the full Instructional Quality Commission meetings, there will be opportunities for members of the public to continue to provide comments on the draft framework. Are there any questions about the next steps in the framework development process? Great, thank you.
Thank you, Executive Director Coates. Now we will review the guidelines and highlight some of the ways that the draft framework meets them. Constantino Silva and Brian Lindeman are going to share with us some highlights from the draft framework.
Thank you, Commissioner Chapman. Good morning, Commissioners. It's still morning for a few more minutes. It is truly a pleasure to be here this morning and to bring you, for the first time, the draft mathematics framework. I will provide an overview of the framework, highlighting some of the most salient elements of the draft, chapter by chapter. Lead writer, Dr. Brian Lindeman, will follow with additional comments regarding the framework's major focal points and highlights linking the State Board of Education's guidelines for the revision of the mathematics framework. I would like to begin by indicating that the draft framework has a total of 13 chapters, and the current page count stands at 845, which is below the required number of pages in the State Board guidelines. So now chapter by chapter, chapter 1, there we go. I thought we were going to have a slide. There it is. So chapter 1, the introduction. This chapter provides an overview of the entire framework, as you can imagine, and introduces current research on best practices for the teaching and learning of mathematics for all students. It discusses, for example, issues of a fixed mathematical mindset and the pernicious effects of tracking students into lower math courses starting in middle school. Chapter 2, Teaching for Equity and Engagement, promotes instruction that fosters equitable learning for all students and challenges deeply entrenched policies and practices that lead to inequitable outcomes in math instruction. It's important to note that while this chapter discusses at length guidance regarding equitable and truly engaging math instruction, the framework actually includes this type of guidance throughout the entire framework. And I know Dr. Lindeman will discuss that further in his remarks. But of course, this is an area so important that the State Board of Education has included several guidelines on this issue as requirements for this revision. Chapter 3, number sense, together with Chapter 5, data science, are devoted to exploring the development of particular content areas across the TK-12, really TK-12 grade timeframe. These are new chapters that are not in the current framework. So the question, the question would be, why include these two chapters, right? Well, number sense is a crucial foundation for all later mathematical learning and is also an early indicator or predictor of mathematical perseverance. And data science, for its part, has become tremendously important in the field of math since the last framework. Chapter 4, exploring, discovering, and reasoning with and about the mathematics, presents the development of a related cluster of standards for the mathematical practice, or the SMPs, across the entire K-12 timeframe. The idea of learning progressions, which Dr. Lindeman will also discuss a bit more in depth than I, are evident in the grade-banded chapters, and these are Chapter 6, which is Mathematics, Investigating and Connecting, Transitional Kindergarten through Grade 5, Chapter 7, which is Mathematics, Investigating and Connecting, Grades 6 through 8, and Chapter 8, Mathematics, Investigating and Connecting for the high school grades 9 through 12. Chapter 9 is our professional learning chapter, our professional learning support, and this is supporting equitable and engaging mathematics instruction. This chapter presents guidance designed to build an effective system of support for teachers as they facilitate learning for their students. And it also includes advice for administrators and other school leaders and sets out effective models for teacher learning and professional development. Chapter 10 is our technology chapter, Technology and Distance Learning and the Teaching of Mathematics. This chapter describes the purpose of technology in the learning of mathematics and introduces overarching principles meant to guide such technology use, as well as general guidance for distance learning. Now, elements of distance learning guidance are also being currently developed by the Sacramento County Office of Education through legislative authority. Some aspects of that guidance will be included in this chapter following board approval, and that is expected to take place in May of this year. Chapter 11 is our assessment chapter, Assessment in the 21st Century. This chapter addresses the need to broaden assessment practices beyond just answer finding to record student thinking and to create assessment systems that emphasize growth of learning over performance. So this chapter reviews assessment for learning and concludes with a brief overview of the Common Core aligned standardized assessments used in the CASP. And Chapter 12, the Instructional Materials chapter, is intended to provide support to publishers and developers of instructional materials to serve California's diverse student population. And this chapter also provides guidance to local districts and charter schools on the adoption of instructional materials for students in grades 9 through 12. It also provides guidance and requirements regarding the social content review process, guidance on supplemental instructional materials, as well as accessible instructional materials. And finally, this chapter also includes a new section for a framework that is guidance for publishers called Publisher's Guide to Mathematics Framework. This section is designed to guide publishers of instructional materials with attention to issues of equity and the particular emphases in the framework as they design their instructional programs for state approval. Finally, we have our glossary, which is also in accordance with the guidelines. This chapter provides definitions of key terms, acronyms, as well as important useful tables. Now, before I turn it over to Dr. Lindeman, I have one final note and a request for the Commission. In its final recommendations last December or last month, the Math CFCC requested that the term English learner, which it considered to be a deficit-based term, be replaced by a more assets-based term. The writing team and CFERD staff have explored different terms that could be used as a possible replacement. Staff consulted with our colleagues from the Multilingual Support Division, formerly the English Learner Support Division, and it is clear that the term English learner is a legal term at both the state and federal levels that is used for accountability and for data collection purposes, for example, and that it is also a term that is well established and well understood by members of the field, right, in education in California. Therefore, it has not been easy, right? It has not been possible to find a replacement for this term. A term that had been proposed to the writing team by noted researchers is linguistically and culturally diverse student or learner. After much examination, we determined that non-English learning students could also be encompassed in this term. So using this term as a replacement could result in confusion to the field. However, we appreciate the asset-based nuances added by this term. Therefore, in several instances of this term in the draft framework, we have included the enhanced term linguistically and culturally diverse English learner. We would appreciate the Commission's guidance on the use of this term. And with that, I conclude my remarks, and I will now turn it over to Dr. Lindeman for his remarks.
Yes, well, hello. Good morning, everyone. Just morning by a couple minutes. Instructional Quality Commission, state board members, CDE staff, and members of the public. The writing team, which is Catherine Early, CSU Chico, Dr. Joe Bowler, Stanford University, Dr. Jenny Langro-Suna, Stanford University, and Dr. Ben Ford, Sonoma State, and myself, Chico State, is comprised of former and current mathematics educators and researchers, and just overall math enthusiasts. We collectively together with the CFCC and CDE staff are excited to share the current draft of the 2021 California Mathematics Framework with you. Overall, the framework has 4 major focal points, which are prominent in various chapters, but are present throughout the entire document. I just want to point out those 4 focal points and the guidelines which are addressed by those focal points. Some of the guidelines, anyway. Focal point 1, emphasizing the need to address equity in learning while also deepening the level of engagement with rich mathematics for learners. That's quite a mouthful. Engagement and equity are connected together, was a major focal point for the writing team. The 2021, let me elaborate just a little bit. The 2021 framework sees the needs of equity and engagement as intertwined. Unlike 2013, when the framework featured two separate chapters, one on instruction and one on access and equity, the 2021 framework offers a single chapter, Chapter 2, Teaching for Equity and Engagement, which promotes instruction that fosters equitable learning experiences for all and challenges the mathematics education community to rethink and reshape policies and practices that lead to inequitable outcomes. Guidance for this focal point addresses multiple guidelines for the 2021 framework, including 1I and 4B. Focal point 2, highlighting progressions of learning that span TK-12, both with content topics and productive habits of mind. 3 chapters are specifically devoted to progressions of learning that span grades K through 12. Chapters 3 and 5 are devoted to exploring the development of 2 aspects of mathematical understanding, number sense, Chapter 3, and data science, Chapter 5. Chapter 4, exploring, discovering, and reasoning with and about mathematics, presents the development of a related cluster of standards for mathematical practice, the practices. Those are SMPs 3, 7, and 8 across the entire K-12 timeframe. It's the first time something like this has been proposed in a state document, to my knowledge, so we are proud that Chapter 4 represents that for California. Focal point 3, focusing teaching and learning upon big ideas. Instead of considering individual standards as the driving force of activities, this framework promotes the perspective that big ideas in mathematics can propel exciting and meaningful learning that aligns with multiple standards, but also carries across multiple grade levels. Thus, instead of individual grade level chapters, as has been typical in frameworks, there are 3 grade banded chapters. Chapter 6, grades TK through 5, Chapter 7, grades 6 through 8, and Chapter 8, grades 9 through 12. The big ideas for each grade band, in the form of overarching drivers of investigation and content connections, both of which are carefully defined and described, provide a structure for promoting relevant and authentic activities for students. Sample tasks, snapshots, and vignettes presented in those chapters illustrate the building of ideas across grades. In addition, the California Environmental Principles and Concepts, which foster students' abilities to examine issues of environmental and social justice, those are the California EP and Cs, are specifically addressed in these chapters and throughout the rest of the framework in various places. Guidance for this focal point addresses multiple guidelines, including 1AB, 2B, and 4C, D, and E. I may have forgotten for focal point 2 to point out which guidelines got addressed there. So let me say that again, sorry. So guidance for focal point 2, which was the progressions of learning focal point, addressed guidelines such as 1G, H, 2, AC, and 2E. Okay. And then lastly, the focal point, our last focal point is supporting teachers and schools in making informed decisions about professional learning, technology, assessment, and curricula. Constantino already discussed this in detail with chapters 9 through 12. I don't need to necessarily repeat what he said about that, but I do want to point out that guidance for this focal point addresses several of the guidelines, including 3B, 5B, and pretty much the entirety of Guideline 6. With that, I thank you for reviewing and giving us feedback and comments on this draft, and we're hoping to improve it even more. Thank you.
Thank you, Constantino and Brian. Are there any questions regarding the guidelines? Not seeing any of the hands. Oh, was there a hand? Oh, I see. My apologies. Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
Desperately trying to scroll to find the click to get the hand, so thank you for your patience. Just to go back to the comment that what Constantino brought up about the label for English learners and the need or the desire to find something that is not deficit-based, which I understand. I'm wondering, two things come to mind or came to mind. One is, is the term, I know that the English learner is the common label for across the feds and state documents and policies. But when you use linguistically and culturally diverse students, aren't English learners, they're not synonymous, right? Because that, what you're saying is linguistically and culturally diverse students is a bigger umbrella. But does that include English learners, right? They're not one-to-one, but one will fall under the other.
Yes.
Okay. And then what would be the concern of using linguistically and culturally diverse students instead of English learners?
I can speak to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for the question, Commissioner Costa Hernandez. So when we are giving, so here's where sort of the conundrum begins, and when we think of swapping out linguistically and culturally diverse or replacing English learner with this term. When a teacher asks him or herself, who are my English learners, right? And identifies those students based on that question, right? Based on that term. If we replace that and say, and the teacher asks, because what we want obviously is support, adequate support, integrated, designated English language development support. When we sort of turn that with this different term to ask, if the teacher asks, who are my linguistically and culturally diverse students, it will encompass a greater number of students, right? It could even encompass students who are not in the process of learning English right now, who have learned English already, but who are nonetheless linguistically and culturally diverse. Then it became an issue of, are we going to be confusing the field? Is the teacher going to get an adequate picture of who their English learners and what instructional supports they require by asking the question, who are my linguistically and culturally diverse students?
Okay. So thank you for that clarification. I mean, this is not something that I think we can decide now. I'd be interested to see what we get back in public comment. But it's almost to me like, because of what you just described, Constantino, is that we probably need both. That we need to be very clear about English learners. By the way, I don't, myself, I put a question mark like, is deficit label? Because I don't see that as a deficit label, but I understand that some people do. So specifically about English learners, because the ELD standards are designed to address the particular needs of students who are learning English at the same time they're learning that content. And so we need to be very explicit about those supports. But I would hate to leave out other students that are linguistically diverse because they don't get tested and they don't get a specific label, but that we still need to pay attention and figure out ways to sometimes do some translational work, some engagement, and culturally diverse students, because, you know, we need to pay attention to that equally. So my invitation would be to see where we can do both. And maybe they sound redundant to some people, but that would be proactive redundancy, right? Because we know that we meant to do it that way. And when we're addressing ELD standards, then the term English learner, it may be more appropriate. And when we're talking about more broadly about engaging all students and paying attention to language in general, then maybe linguistically and culturally diverse students is the more appropriate label.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions about the guidelines? I am no longer seeing any more hands up. I had the pleasure of attending several of the Math CFCC's meetings this last year and observed the discussions on how the framework was to make the framework a useful tool for our educators. And it really was so nice to see that the needs of the August 2019 focus groups being integrated into the document, including the attention to equity and an assets-based approach, a push to ensure depth of knowledge instead of the coverage of curriculum, more attention to that problem-based learning and integrated approach, and an expansion of the vignettes so that our teachers have that look into the classroom and really that promotion of the growth mindset. You know, this was really not an easy task for the Math CFCC being remote and having these discussions, but I just want to send my appreciation out to the group and the writers as well for being diligent and getting this work done for us. So at this time, I know that all of the members of the 2020 Math CFCC had an opportunity to attend one or more of the meetings, and at this time I'd like to open it up to them if they have any comments they'd like to make about their experiences. And I see Commissioner Fairchild has her hand up.
Thank you. I did get the opportunity to attend several of the CFCC meetings, and I really appreciated the attention to lessons learned and really the intentionality about making it better. And everybody was very good about keeping the students at the forefront in really trying to, how can students better access our math? And I was very impressed with everybody. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Fairchild. Commissioner Gotanda.
I was also privileged to attend some of the CFCC meetings, and they were fantastic. The amount of detail and hard work and just very rich discussion around what mathematics instruction will look like in our classrooms, was really impressive, like Commissioner Fairchild said. So I really want to thank everybody who was part of that, and particularly our Seaford staff, just because I know there's a lot of work that has been going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, but also the people who were involved in the meetings. It was very, very impressive.
Thank you. Commissioner Munoz.
I too had the privilege of attending the meetings for the Math Committee, and I just want to commend the writers. We had some really good teams of math professionals there leading the way. They challenged the math writers consistently, and the dialogue between back and forth between the two of them of what was needed. And I think the writers have done a really good job. But I also like the idea that they really focused on equity and engagement, and so much so that we have a chapter on it. And looking at number sense and number line. As an elementary teacher, I see such a great need, and they addressed what I needed in the classroom. With that focus again on the student being a premier. So thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands up. So it is now time to hear from the members of the Math SMC about any issues or concerns you would like to discuss as we prepare the draft framework for public review. We will go in order by chapter number, starting with chapter 1, the introduction. Okay, so at this time, are there any comments, questions, or suggestions from the Math CMC regarding this particular chapter? Are there any commissioners who are not on the Math SMC who would like to suggest a change or addition? Okay. Would any of the state board members like to make a comment or suggestion? All right. So now we will move on to Chapter 2, Teaching for Equity and Engagement. Are there any comments, questions, or suggestions from the Math SMC about this chapter? I'm not seeing any hands, and I apologize. I was so busy doing this that I do have a comment about Chapter 1. I just wanted to make sure that in Chapter 1, around line 670, there was an unfinished quote in a little call-out box. My apologies. Okay, so I'm going to...
Sorry, Commissioner Chapman. So line 670, ensure that the quote is completed.
Exactly. It looked, yeah. Yes, please.
Thank you.
Okay, not seeing any other hands, we're going to move on to, I'm going to finish up Chapter 2, last call for Chapter 2. Okay, now I'm going to open it up to any other members of the IQC that have comments about Chapter 2 or questions. And to our state board liaisons. All right, we will move on to Chapter 3, Number Sense, starting with our Math SMC. Any questions, suggestions, or comments? And commissioners who are not on the Math SMC? And our state board members. Chapter 4, Exploring, Discovering, and Reasoning with and about Mathematics. Opening that discussion up for our Math SMC first. Commissioners who are not on the Math SMC who would like to suggest a change or addition? And would any of the state board members like to make a comment or suggestion? Moving on to Chapter 5, Data Science. Any questions, suggestions from our Math SMC? Okay, any commissioners who are not on the Math SMC? And our state board members. Okay, moving on to Chapter 6, Chapter 6, right? Mathematics, Investigating, and Connecting, kindergarten through grade 5. Math SMC? Okay, commissioners who are not on the Math SMC. And state board members. Okay. Chapter 7, Mathematics, Investigating, and Connecting, grades 6 through 8. Open to any comments and suggestions, questions from the Math SMC. Any members, commissioners who are not on the SMC? And our state board members. All right. And then we are now into Chapter 8, Mathematics, Investigating, and Connecting, grades 9 through 12. Open to questions, comments, and suggestions from the Math SMC. Commissioners who are not on the SMC. and state board members. Chapter 8, Mathematics Investigating Connecting Grades 9 through 12. Open for comments and suggestions from our Math SMC. Other commissioners and state board members. Chapter 9, Supporting Equitable and Engaging Mathematics Instruction. Opening that to our Math SMC for questions and comments. Other commissioners and state board members. Chapter 10, Technology and Distance Learning in Teaching Mathematics. Math SMC members. Commissioners not on the SMC, and state board members. Chapter 11, Assessment in the 21st Century. Open to the Math SMC. Commissioners who are not on the Math SMC, and state board members. Chapter 12, Instructional Materials. Any comments from our Math SMC? Commissioners not on the SMC? And state board members. And Chapter 13, Glossary. Any comments from our Math SMC? Commissioners not on the SMC, and state board members.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
I would just like to point out, particularly for the public, that it is quite common for the subject matter committee and the Instructional Quality Commission to not have a lot of changes prior to sending the document out for the first 60-day public comment review, and that we anticipate a more robust conversation after the 60-day public comment review has closed and the document and the public comments come back to this body for consideration.
Thank you, Executive Director Coates. So having said that, I believe there was only one. Constantino, do you want to just share the one comment that we'll be looking at before it goes out to the public?
Certainly, Commissioner Chapman, and that was in Chapter 1, line 670. There's a quote in a call-out box that appears to be incomplete. We will review that, and it may be that the call-out box needs to be stretched out a little bit more so that all of the text appears, but nevertheless, we will take a look at that and make sure that it shows up in its entirety.
Thank you. Now we will hear public comments. As a reminder, we have received written public comments, also written comments submitted to the Math CFCC after the submission deadline has also been submitted to the IQC and is included in our public comment folder. You have a link to it in your meeting materials. Members of the public can request access to these comments by writing the iqc@cde.ca.gov mailbox. So we're not open for public comment right now. Okay, so our next order of business is the online application questions for the public review and comment period. Today, we are going to take action on this survey that will be posted on the CDE webpage along with the draft framework. The online survey will allow survey users to provide written feedback on the draft chapters of the mathematics framework during our first 60-day public review period. Survey users can respond to as many or as few questions as they choose. The comments received will be compiled by CFERT staff and presented to the Mathematics Subject Matter Committee and the IQC for consideration in May 2021. Are there any questions or concerns about the survey? Just another note, this survey happens to be a standard form that we do use quite often when reviewing frameworks, and the questions vary slightly. Okay. Are there any members of the public who would like to provide comment on the draft framework, on the application questions for the public review and a comment period, or any of the issues we have discussed? You will have 1 minute for your comments. Denise, do we have any public comments?
We do. Give me just 1 moment. First caller, you may begin. Caller, you may begin.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Crystal Gonzalez, and I'm the Executive Director of the nonprofit English Learner Success Forum. We are part of the coalition of 18 advocacy and research organizations where we have engaged closely throughout 2020 with the Math CFCC. I would like to thank CDE staff and Math CFCC members and writers for their diligent work and appreciate their consideration of our feedback. We urge the IQC to keep our recommended revisions, one of which includes the inclusion of the ELSF mathematics guidelines in the instructional materials chapter. These guidelines were developed specifically for publishers of materials, leverages what we know from EL research, and provides explicit guidance on how materials can intentionally build language into the math learning process, which we know benefits all students. We have yet to see a math curriculum that sufficiently attends to language in this way. This is where we see the promise of improved and intentionally designed instructional materials that integrate and simultaneously develop math content knowledge, disciplinary practices, and language and literacy skills. We truly see the work you're leading as an example for what is possible when equity and all student needs are centered in instruction. We thank you for all of your work around this. Thanks.
Thank you. Next caller, you may begin.
Hi, good evening. This is Manuel Buenrostro with Californians Together, and we are one of the 18 advocacy and research organizations that submitted a joint letter in regards to the mathematics framework. Over the past year, we have been engaged during the Math CFCC meetings, reviewing chapters and providing feedback. And I want to again thank the staff, the Math CFCC members, the writers, and everybody for your diligent work with this framework. We are pleased to see that the current framework incorporated many of the suggestions that were provided during the meetings. This includes assets-based approaches on language, incorporation of ELD strategies and standards, and resources for educators to develop cultural competencies. We now look forward to our continued engagement during the 60-day review period and look forward to providing additional feedback on different areas, including on the instructional materials, ensuring that there continues to be supports for ELD and diverse learners, and making sure that we continue to leverage family engagement and opportunities to support families. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller, you may begin.
Hi, my name is Al Rapinera, and I'm a high school math educator from Fullerton with 17 years of classroom experience. I work at a high-poverty, low-income school where a majority of my students are also students of color and enter my classroom each day with challenges no student should have to face. The framework was designed for me to use as a guide to educate my students. I need to be able to see my students, and the students need to see themselves represented within the content. The framework needs to start with the students. I appreciate the focus on equity, and I believe equity must be visible throughout the framework. Educators need tools to address equity issues and strategies to meet the diverse needs of our students. There needs to be a continued elevation of the needs of diverse students in the vignettes and examples. I support the discussion of systemic causes of inequity within the framework. I've advocated with EdTrust West and Teach Plus for educational equity, and I believe equity needs to be the driving force in the framework development, content, and implementation. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next caller, you may begin.
Hello, my name is Rachel Russolo, and I'm with the Education Trust West. As an educational equity research and advocacy organization, EdTrust West has reported on the inequitable access that California's most marginalized students have had to rigorous and engaging mathematics courses and instruction. But we know that with the right systemic instructional and mindset changes, math can be inclusive and it's a gateway to opportunity for college, career, and for solving many of our world's complex challenges. Now is the time for California to be a national leader by developing a new math framework that truly centers equity, inclusion, and anti-racism in actionable ways. Over the last several months, the EdTrust West has worked in partnership with 19 research, policy, and educational organizations to review draft chapters and provide substantive feedback and recommendations to the Math CFPC. We would like to thank the CFPC members for their diligent work and the inclusion of many of our coalition's recommendations. We look forward to continuing our engagement with the IQC throughout the public comment period. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller, you may begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Lucero Chavez, and I'm a policy associate for the Parent Institute for Quality Education, or PIQUE. PIQUE is a national organization founded in San Diego, providing evidence-based programming that engages and empowers parents to actively participate in their children's education and strengthen parent-school collaboration. Over the last several months, PIQUE has been part of a coalition of 18 advocacy and research organizations and county offices of education, working closely with the Mathematics CFPC. As an organization, PIQUE firmly believes that our children succeed when families, schools, and communities work together. It is important for us that the mathematics framework maintains an equity lens in its development and implementation. The parents we serve share with us that although they want to help their students academically, they often struggle to do so due to cultural, linguistic, digital literacy, and other barriers. PIQUE envisions a framework that promotes family engagement by considering a wide range of perspectives and needs of our students and families of diverse socioeconomic and cultural backgrounds. This includes integration.
Thank you. Next caller, you may begin.
Hello, my name is Francisco Villegas. I am the Senior Director of School Transformation with the Partnership for Los Angeles Schools. We are a nonprofit that manages 19 schools within LA Unified in the communities of Boyle Heights, South Los Angeles, and Watts. There are many important recommendations in chapters 1 through 11 of this framework draft. And as someone who works in schools side by side with teachers and school leaders, I want to strongly encourage that the ideas captured in chapters 1 through 9 make their way into chapters 12 of the framework. I say this because I know firsthand that the instructional materials we equip our teachers with serve as a foundation for achieving the ideas in this framework. We can provide high-quality professional development and instructional coaching, and those things are important, but I know that that alone is not enough to achieve the ideas in chapters 1 through 9. Instructional materials matter a lot, and I really want to see this framework be different and better than past frameworks. And the most important thing this framework can do is force publishers to deliver products that capture the spirit of the ideas captured in chapters 1 through 9. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no more public comment.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else on the commission who would like to provide comment at this time? Do any members of the Math SMC want to discuss any of the public comments we just heard? Are there issues that you would like to reopen for discussion based on what you have heard? So if there is not any more conversation regarding this, we are now ready to take action on the draft framework. There are two motions. The first will be to recommend the draft framework to the full IQC. The second will be to ask the full IQC to delegate the chair and vice chair of this SMC to work with staff and the writers as they make the changes that are approved by the commission. Would you like staff to summarize the changes that we have agreed on before I ask for a motion or vote? Seeing no hands, I need a motion from a member of the Mathematics Subject Matter Committee member to recommend to the Instructional Quality Commission that the draft framework and online survey be sent out for the first 60-day public review and comment period with the changes we have agreed upon today. Commissioner Fairchild?
So move. I'm talking with a mic.
The motion has been made by Commissioner Fairchild. Is there a second? Commissioner Munoz?
I second.
Is there any discussion of the motion? Are there any commissioners not on the Mathematics Subject Matter Committee who would like to comment on the motion? Are there any comments from the State Board Liaison? It is time to vote. Remember, only members of the Mathematics Subject Matter Committee can vote. Denise, will you conduct the roll call?
Chair Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Renteria? Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Chair Reston?
Yes.
The motion passes.
I would like a motion to ask the full Instructional Quality Commission to delegate to the chair and the vice chair of the Mathematics Subject Matter Committee the review and approval of the agreed upon changes to the draft framework and online survey, as well as minor edits identified by staff or the writers. For example, grammar, punctuation, word order, citations, before the draft framework is sent out for its first 60-day public review and comment period. Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
I so moved.
And can I have a second? Commissioner Williamson?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Are there any commissioners not on the Mathematics Subject Matter Committee who would like to comment on the motion? Are there any comments from the State Board Liaisons? We are now ready to vote. Remember, only members of the Mathematics SMC can vote. Denise?
Chair Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
IQC Chair Reston?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you, commissioners, and thank you, writing team, for your effort on this framework. I appreciate your diligence and thoughtful attention to the feedback and requests of the Math CFCC and the vision for inclusive and equitable mathematics education for each and every one of California's students that is articulated in the draft. Thank you also to our Seaford staff who have been leading and supporting the development of this framework. Executive Director Coates, you have provided valuable leadership, and I know that you and the team will continue to provide support as the work continues. Would any of the other commissioners like to make some comments? Thank you, commissioners. I adjourn this meeting of the Mathematics Subject Matter Committee. Thank you, everyone.
All right, so now we're on to agenda item 13A. And we have an action before us, which is to approve the draft mathematics framework and online survey for the first 60-day public review and comment period. We will now take up the items reported from subcommittees. Mathematics SMC, Chair Chapman, I believe you have a motion for us.
Yes, as chair of the Mathematics SMC, I move that the full commission approve that the draft framework and online survey be sent out for the first 60-day public review comment period with the changes we have agreed upon today.
Is there a second to the motion? I recognize Commissioner Munoz.
I second.
Commissioner Chapman has moved and Commissioner Munoz has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any comment from the State Board liaisons? I believe that we are ready to vote. Denise, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Andre?
Yes.
Commissioner Storgal-Mansa?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Vice Chair Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Rustin?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Senator Allen? The motion passes.
All right, our second action is for the full commission to delegate the IQC Chair and the Mathematics SMC Chair to review edits to the draft and online survey.
As chair of the Mathematics SMC, I move that the full commission delegate to the chair and vice chair of the Mathematics Subject Matter Committee the review and approval of the agreed upon changes of the draft framework and online survey, as well as any minor edits identified by staff or writers before the draft framework is sent out for its 60-day public review and comment period.
Is there a second to the motion? Commissioner Fairchild?
Do I have to make a motion or do we second it?
Second.
I second it.
All right, Commissioner Chapman has moved and Commissioner Fairchild has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any comment from the State Board liaisons? I believe that we are ready to vote. Denise, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Andre?
Yes.
Commissioner Storgal-Mansa?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Vice Chair Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Chair Rustin?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
Senator Allen? The motion passes.
Okay, our third action item is for the full IQC to approve the online survey questions for the public comment and review period.
As chair of the Mathematics SMC, I move that the IQC approve the online survey questions for the public comment and review period.
Is there a second to the motion? Commissioner Gotanda?
I second.
Commissioner Chapman has moved and Commissioner Gotanda has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any comment from our state board liaisons? I believe that we are ready to vote. Denise, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Andre?
Yes.
Commissioner Estorga-Almanza?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Vice Chair Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Chair Reston?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Fantastic. Okay, so now we're on to agenda item, I think we're on 4B. I don't see the numbers, but this is to approve the proposed 2022 to 2024 IQC meeting dates. The public comment line for this item is now open. Please follow the instructions on the screen if you would like to give public comment on this item. Is there any discussion on the proposed 2022 through 2024 IQC meeting dates? Seeing no hands, I need a motion to approve the proposed 2022 to 2024 IQC meeting dates. I recognize Commissioner Fairchild.
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Who was? I missed who that was.
It was
Commissioner Friedman.
It was me. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Fairchild has moved and Commissioner Friedman has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any comment from the state board liaisons? Is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
Okay. The public comment line for this item is now closed. I believe we are ready to vote. Denise, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Andre?
Yes.
Commissioner Estorga-Almanza? Commissioner Estorga-Almanza?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Friedman?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai?
Yes.
Commissioner Popovich?
Yes.
Chair Reston?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay. Before we adjourn, I believe Executive Director Coates, I believe you asked for some time at the very end.
I did. Thank you so much. And I'd like to also thank the Commission for its work today. I would like to acknowledge very sad for CDE and this Commission at this time that Cliff Rudnick, the administrator of the Instructional Resources Unit, is retiring from the CDE after 30 years of service. He has served 10 of those years in Seaford and has just been extremely knowledgeable, extremely organized, extremely proactive, and his leadership in the instructional materials adoptions has just proved to be invaluable. So I wanted you to know this will be his last IQC meeting, and just to allow you the opportunity, if you would, to express any remarks or words, but also just to say thank you to Mr. Rudnick for his years of service.
Board Member Strauss.
So, Cliff, I have to say, you probably have mixed emotions.
in leaving, but I have to say, in all the years that we have worked on all the adoptions and processes, you've been amazing. Like calm, thoughtful, you know all the requirements, and you really help us get to where we need to be. And I hope you have great plans once we all can not be staying at home remote anymore, and that this next chapter for you is incredibly rewarding. You've made such a difference for all of us that serve at the state level and for the children of California. It's been really fun to work with you. So just thank you, Cliff, really.
Board Member Rucker?
Well, I was hoping I would be among the last so that some of the commission members could speak their piece. But I will say, Cliff, you know, California stands out across the country for the work that we do in developing our frameworks, but also for our stakeholder engagement process and the ideals that we espouse in the work that we do concerning curriculum and instruction. And you've been part of a phenomenal team in the Seaford division that is the reason behind why California has such a strong, visible profile in education leadership in this country. So it's not enough just for me to give you praise and to say I'm going to miss you. I wish I could run for president just to be president for one day to sign an executive order that says, no, you cannot leave me, but that's not allowable. But I just need you to know not only how much you are appreciated, but the fact that our state stands in the education community in the way it does is in part based on the contribution of the work that you have given to this team. While you personally are a very humble man and a very humble individual with the work that you do, it's very important for everyone here to know this is an amazing staff person. This is an amazing and accomplished individual. And while you may not know all of his accomplishments and may not have had the chance to get to know him personally, this personal satisfaction that you all are deriving from the work that you are doing on the IQC stems in part from the work that he and his team have done. So it's Cliff, you will be missed, and I truly appreciate everything that you're doing. I congratulate you for your accomplishment and getting to this milestone. And let me just say, I also want to recognize your family because they've sacrificed a lot and shared you with us and supported you in the work and the time and the commitment that you've given to California and the Department of Education and the education community. So I want to make sure that I recognize your wife, your partner, and your children because they were also a part of the reason why you were able to do so well all of the things you do. So thank you so very much for being here with us, and thank you for the work that you have allowed all of us to engage in and do.
Commissioner Fairchild.
Hi, Cliff. I just want to say, like, accolades to all of your professional accomplishments, but more important, you are just a great human being that I will miss being around and having side conversations and just chatting. You are just a great person to the core, and it has been such a privilege to know you and to spend time. Thank you so much for all you give professionally and personally. I don't know how we're going to go through these adoptions without you. I'm really grateful to have known you, and I'm a better person for it. So thank you.
Well, I would like to second all those comments. Cliff, thank you so very much, and do definitely enjoy your retirement. You certainly earned it. And I believe we have reached the end of our meeting. I want to thank everybody for a wonderful 2 days, particularly those who were involved in organizing and designing the orientation, which was for the first time ever fully virtual. And shout out to whoever wrote the challenges. I noticed they rhymed, and you know, I do want to show my appreciation for whoever did the wordplay there. I very much appreciated that. All right, so everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you next time.
I think Cliff might have wanted to say something.
Oh,
He unmuted himself, so I just wanted to give him the opportunity. Sorry.
No, thank you for that. Cliff.
Thank you, Chair Rustin. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for allowing me to be part of this critical work for California students over the last 10 years, 36 years in education, actually, and 33 of those with the Department of Education. And Board Member Rucker spoke about the sacrifice that my lovely wife and children have had to make. One thing I did want to point out for the last 10 years, our adoption processes tend to have the reviewer training the third week or so of April and the deliberations the third week or so of July. And my wife and I have been married for 30 years, and our anniversary is the third week of April, and her birthday is the third week of July. So she has had to sacrifice some important events so that I could be part of this process. I really appreciate everybody's support for continuing this down the road. I will absolutely miss the work. I will absolutely miss the people. And I'm a little nervous. You are right, Board Member Strauss. It's a little unnerving as we move into that next phase. Thank you again.
All right. And with that, I now adjourn the meeting. Thank you.